Good evening, everyone,
Nope,
and
not quite yet.
welcome.
Hold on.
She said it was being recorded.
No, I've got to wait for the live stream to go out to the website.
Okay.
Now you're all set.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining the Lucy Robbins Wells Library Board of Trustees meeting for March 8th, 2021. We'll go through. Gail, are you ready to do a roll call?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
For it.
Okay,
Yes, I
heard
can. Thank
I heard Anna. Okay, Laurel. Is Laurel there?
Laurel is there. She's on mute. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Judy. Is Judy there? No Judy?
No, Judy, we don't see her. She would have called in.
Okay. All right. You said Lisa Jones not there. Pauline?
I'm here.
Iris?
Mute.
Iris is here. She's on mute.
Okay. Beth Livingston? Is Beth there?
I don't see her anywhere.
Here.
Okay. Maureen? Is Maureen there?
Yes,
Here.
she is. I saw her.
Okay. Leanne?
Yes, here.
Pam, you said was not there. Neil, I heard. Diane, I heard. And Christine, you said is not there. Okay, I got everybody. Oh, and Lisa, Lisa and Matson. Most
I'm
important people, right? Karen
Right.
Benner.
I'm
Yes.
here.
Okay, Dave Nagel.
Here.
Chris Miner.
Here.
And is Sheila there from the Friends or anybody else from the Friends?
I'm here.
Sheila's there.
Sheila. Okay, now I got everybody. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. James, do we have anybody from public participation on?
No public so far tonight.
Okay, then we'll cruise right on down to Town Council Liaison. Chris, I'll let you go up first. Do you have anything you want to say or bring to our attention at this point?
No, I just, the budget is scheduled to be presented starting tomorrow. We've also received notice that apparently, Lisa, the roof leaks have been repaired and you don't have any additional leaks at this time. Is that correct?
We had a leak this morning, but it wasn't a roof leak. Our hot water heater leaked into the community room.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, so they're working on that. But
Okay.
the roof leaks, yeah. But the roof is fine so far. Yep.
All right, knock on wood. Thank you. That's all I have
Yep.
for right now.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Dave, is there anything you wanted to mention or bring up at this point?
Just to add that the leak was supposedly totally repaired and that it's under warranty, and they didn't know it was under warranty. So that's double good for the town if we have to have something like that. And in terms of the budget review process, March 20th at 9 a.m. we have a special meeting in the morning, and the library is in the middle of that list of things that we will be going over with the town manager. He will present his total budget generally for public hearing at 6 p.m. tomorrow before our regular council meeting, and we'll go over some of the items involving the budget during our regular council meeting, just to add to what Chris said. That's it.
Okay, so that's total budget. That's not the library line item budget.
No. He will go over in the public hearing a general total budget. That's starting at 6. And then at 7, the council has its regular meeting, and as part of it, the town manager will go over part of his budget with departmental budget reviews of various different things. But the library is not included in that segment. There is another, as I said, Saturday morning at 9 a.m., a continuation of the budget review, and the library is in the middle of the list of things on that day that will be covered. And on the, let's see, on the 23rd, 3rd, we'll be going over other things as well that haven't been covered that Saturday morning.
Okay, great. So if we want to hear what's going on with the library budget, Saturday morning around 9 o'clock would be the time to hop on?
That's when
Or
it starts.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that's when we'll get to it, but that's when it starts.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Helps to
You're
have some kind of a time frame.
Mhm.
Thank you. Secretary's report. Iris?
No report.
Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes from last month. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes and go through those? Any questions or corrections?
No.
I did have one point that I wanted to clarify if no one else has anything. Anyone? I'm sorry, I'm looking up, or now I'm looking up. Under the library director's report, section 8, the first line, Lisa Maston reported staff had been really busy with the Lucy to Go service with 125 pickups. Was that per day?
Lisa's muted.
Lisa, you're on mute.
I know, I'm sorry. We had several days where it was over 125. We're averaging I would say between 80 and 90 a day.
Okay, so I think at that point it was the 125 pickups
Yeah.
for that day, right, in the morning, when 15 or 20.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep.
if we could amend that to say with 125 pickups that day, or whatever it was, typically in the morning, yeah. I think that helps clarify what we're talking about. It wasn't for the month, it was for the day.
Do you want me to say averaging, instead of putting the 125 pickups, just put averaging 80 to 90 per day? Or do you want to keep it as because the Lucy, how do
I
you
think
know?
125 speaks to the level of effort that everyone has been putting in, and she did mention 125, so I think it was inferred or said per day.
Diane, it was the day after the holiday. I think that's what a day it was.
I have a question. Is that 125 items that morning, or is it 125?
No,
visits?
125 pickups.
Yes,
So that's not items. No.
right. So it's even
Right, so
more
that's
items.
bad. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So how about something along the lines of Lucy to Go service with up to 125 pickups a day? And that way we cover the 80 to 90 to 125.
Well,
Yeah, does that
just
sound accurate, Lisa,
to
from what you were
get-
trying to get across?
to get the idea of people, it's people, not items, because it's really, they're busier than that.
Well, I think when they say pickup, doesn't that mean people?
Yeah, it doesn't mean people, Neil. Yeah.
Okay.
80, 90
So
people.
stay with up to 125 pickups per day.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I think that just makes it a little clearer. Does anybody else have anything? No, not seeing anything. I'm looking at my notes and looking at the screen at the same time.
I'll make a motion.
So I would enter,
Multitasking.
This is Anna.
so
I'll
I
make a
would
motion to-
entertain a motion. Yep. And are you trying to make it while I'm trying to ask for it? Go for it.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead, Anna.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Have a second?
I will second that. Neil Ryan, second.
Thank you, Neil. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Very good. Thank you. So that was the approval of the minutes, and then the activities calendar, which seems to get rewritten each time we look at it. But right now, the most important part of the activities for the month of March is to return director evaluations. So I know that they were sent out last month, and we'll cover that when it comes up. And then in April, we're usually getting ready for book sales and 5K races, but I don't believe either of those are going on right now. So we'll move forward and hope that soon we'll be back to a full schedule of activities as we go
Diane?
forward from there. Yes.
Diane, this is Ann. I have a question. Typically, we do a meeting for the race before the formal board meeting.
Yes.
How are we going to manage that?
So as we get closer to the race, right, we don't normally have the race meetings in the fall with the race in the spring. So as we get closer, we'll have a pre-race meeting as we go forward. Our race is in October. So
Yeah, we normally,
June?
in a normal year, we would start the road race meetings in January. But this year, with the race being in October, I suppose we'd start it, 4 or 5 months later, the road race meetings. So we do it.
Right. So we typically don't have meetings in July and August. So I'd like to see 1 or 2 meetings, maybe the May, June meetings,
Sure.
if that makes sense. I'm looking for any kind of consensus from the rest of the group here. And then, of course, September and October, we would have to have some meetings.
A meeting in July or August if we need it. Sure, that's fine.
No,
We could do that.
It's Anna. It
Uh,
sounds
what
good
I-
to me as well.
Okay. So what I had been suggesting is to try and get some of these meetings in on our normal days in May and June, see where we are, and then possibly have a meeting in August and September in preparation for the May meetings. Any other suggestions? Any questions? Too soon, too late?
When will registration begin for the race?
So I think one of the challenges is that the rules could be completely different. And I'm hoping that as more and more people get vaccinated and different things happen from that, that the race rules will revert back to the rules that we used to have. Right now, under the COVID racing rules, there's no same-day registration. So I'm kind of hoping to get a little bit of this life after vaccines have been available under our belt to see what rules or restrictions we might be operating under.
Diane, it's
But
Anna.
we've normally, yes, go ahead, Anna.
I think that we should promote our race as soon as possible. We haven't sent anything out to the runners. And I apologize for this turning into a race conversation. But, we haven't spoken to Kevin.
Okay, so why don't,
I think
I
an
believe
email
the
should be
race,
sent to him.
okay. So usually the race is on our, so when we get down to old business, in the meantime, people can think about maybe what's going on. Anna, I think it is a good point and it needs to be discussed. So we'll bring it up, but we'll try to stay with the agenda as it is. And it will give people a few moments to think pros or cons or what's going on from that area. So thank you for bringing it up, but we'll wait until we hit the 5K on the race under old business.
Okay.
To get into more detail. So after that, we'll move on to the treasurer's report with Leanne Mankey.
Well, nothing's changed since what I sent out the other day regarding the period ending February 28th. There's not a whole lot of activity going on currently. Usually our excuse me, our report for the Treasury report shows all sorts of programs. We had no income other than Amazon Smile last last month.
Wow.
And the adult programming, we had one virtual program with Gil Gigliotti. That's his name, right? Gil Gigliotti. I always wonder if I'm saying it wrong. But we also we paid back the Friends because we had received a donation for the Anita Wilson fund for the Friends by mistake. It came to us, and so we've transferred it back over there. So that's that 100. Then we have some basic expenses that we have, our administrative costs and our subscription costs, things like that. So our ending balance at the end of February for the checking is $18,303.93. The money market in Kingston, Dean is still evaluating, trying to come up with a better platform for us to earn some interest. We're at 106,968.19. That is unrestricted funds. And the Santander money market had no activity other than interest as well. And that was $8,998.99. The report on the restricted and unrestricted fund balances are on the second page. And again, those are through February 28th. Other than that, it's, like I said, been relatively quiet.
Thank you, Leanne. Does anyone have questions for Leanne?
This is
No,
Iris.
Sheila.
This
Yes,
is Iris. I read in the paper under Marie Dowling's obit that donations were suggested to the library.
Well, I believe some have actually been received at the library. I haven't been in since they were received. Karen had sent me a memo that there were some checks at the library. So I will be picking them up this week. I think the way the mail runs,
yeah, tell me about
a while. So, but I mean, you know, hopefully things will come in, and certainly when this time of year, typically, again, it's not typical, we're getting all sorts of race income normally at this point. And,
yes, right. Yeah.
And so that's not happening right now because obviously the race is not 2 months from now.
Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully we're just going to shift it off a bit. That's all.
Good. Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Iris, for mentioning that. Any other questions or points under Treasurer's Report? No. All right. Thank you. We'll move on to Library Director's Report. Lisa Maston.
Hello. So we are wrapping up our winter reading programs. We did the 3 winter reading programs for kids, teens, and adults. They've gone pretty well considering. I don't have all the statistics yet for either the teen or children's, but the adults, we have 252 people, no, 226 people signed up. And last year we had 650, but we only had 252 for the summer. So I thought for the winter's usually smaller. So I was pretty happy with over 200. And we expanded our Books for You service, which is a delivery service. Typically it was for people that were homebound, older people that were homebound, but we're offering it to people who are permanently or temporarily unable to get to the library for, you know, some of it, it's really intended if people aren't comfortable coming to the library, even for curbside. We're going to make arrangements to deliver materials to their house. We're working with the General Federation of Women's Clubs of Newington and Wethersfield, and they're helping us with deliveries. So we have a flyer out, we're promoting it, and we actually made our first delivery last week. So that's something that we're kind of happy that we can do. The Friends are also helping with deliveries as well. We continue to do quite a bit of virtual programming, but we're also doing, you know, it's really been popular is the grab and go kits for all ages. The kids especially, Bailey did she did a Nature's Journal grab and go kit that was not in the newsletter. And within like 2 or 3 days, all 46 kits were gone. And it was encouraging kids to go outside with their families to record things of nature. So it was, those have been popular. And then last Monday, we started a Puzzles to Go kit for adults. And we made up 10, thinking, well, who knows if it's going to take off, and they were gone the first day. So we've been making more. It's really photocopies of, different types of puzzles with the answer keys. So people are kind of looking for things to do from home that are low tech, not high tech. And Jeanette had her second live trivia program Friday night. It was a Disney theme, and she had 42 people, which I thought was really good. Yeah. The children's staff also did some pre-recorded book talks for 3rd and 4th graders and for 5th and 6th graders that are actually getting views, like 30 plus views, which I thought was nice as well. Because I think not only are kids, but parents are looking for books for their kids to read as well. So that's basically book talks about books that the staff has picked out for them. I have, if you want to, I have updated a lot of the ways to give on the library's website. I just haven't really promoted it completely yet, but it's, almost every single page was updated. There's more color. I think they're cleaner looking, it's not all text anymore. So that's something you can look at, and Anna and I are meeting tomorrow to kind of tweak it a little bit as well. But then we'll really, push on the front page about making donations. You can make donations online. There's a button there that says you can do that, things like that. So we'll get people to see more of that. We are still giving out, helping patrons get tax forms. The only tax forms we have are the federal 1040s, and we have the print forms and the instruction booklets. The state is not sending they're not sending out any tax forms this year to libraries to give out. And Diane Durrett, of course, the first day that they said they weren't going to do that, she filled out a form online to request her tax forms in paper. 5 weeks later, she got her tax forms, and they were photocopies, or basically they were printed off from the computer. So it's kind of interesting, but we are working with patrons to get them their forms. They can pick stuff up through curbside. We're printing up to 10 pages free for them. But it hasn't been too bad yet. I think people, when we get closer to April, there might be a little bit of a panic mode, because we are finding still that people not everyone has a printer maybe, or they don't all have computers. And I am working with Diane Stone. I think I mentioned this last month, and Carol LeBrecq. We're putting together a newsletter for older adults in Newington that's going to be mailed out probably in the next few weeks, just about ways to be safe, how to stay connected, how to stay active, as we get through through this pandemic. So we finally got everything to the newsletters being put together. We're proofing it, and then we're going to get it to the printer hopefully next week, and then get that mailed out to the public. And the last thing is, last Monday I did a talk to the mayor show. It's kind of it's kind of a roundtable version. It's kind of nice with several other department heads, and Charles Brown, who is the health director, and Keith was there, and things like that. And we all just got to talk a little bit about what each those departments are doing. So I was able to be on that, and it was a good experience. So anyway, and that's all I have.
Lisa was a shining star.
Thank you. Even though my
Never
ears were
doubted it.
turning, they were heating up by the end of it.
Lisa, this is Maureen. I have a question. Now that the
Yes.
governor has loosened things a bit, have you had the discussion with the town manager about opening the library?
Well, what the health director said last Monday was that they're looking at the health director and the town manager are going to talk about it. They're looking at the Newington's still considered to be in the red zone, and that when we go to the orange zone, they'll talk about reopening. Now the governor came out with this, so I'm not sure if the discussion is going to be sooner. But I checked tonight; we were still considered to be in the red zone based on the number of infections per, I think, is it per 100,000 or something. But we're pretty ready to, if we have to open, we're in good shape to open up soon. We're doing a little bit more reorganizing. more for like the curbside stuff, because we obviously can't have it where we have it right now, but we're in really good shape. We have all our protection up for the public desks, hand sanitizer stuff out. You know, the challenge, I think, is not every library is the same, and people can come in, but you're still encouraged to socially distance. And there are areas of the library that it's not possible to do that if you have too many people. And I think one of them I can think of is the children's department. So I think, you know, all the libraries, we're just not the same as a library that's big and open. So you have to take that into consideration. But we haven't had the discussion, Maureen. I'm sure it's coming. And, you know, I think we're ready to be, you know, to open up to the public, and we're happy to do it. I think what we're going to do is just open the doors. But I do want to be mindful as to how many people are in there if there's too many people, especially in certain areas. But I think with the programming, not doing live programming, that's when you tend to get the surges of people coming in at once. And that's where you tend to have the crowds and stuff. So because we're not doing that, I think just opening the doors and letting people come in and browse, it will be fine. I don't think it will be an issue at all. But the children's area is a little bit more of a concern depending on how many people are up there at once.
It's interesting how
Hold
they
on,
did-
Laurel. Oops. Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Maureen, and then Chris
No.
Minor put his hand up. So finish your thought, Maureen, and then I'll go to Chris, and Laurel, then I'll go to you.
just determining, you know, the zones. I mean, the New Britain Library has been open to the public.
Yep.
And the city of New Britain has had a pretty hefty rate of infection.
Right.
So it's, you know, just kind
I
of.
think part of it is also the health director of that area and how they're handling it, and, you know, what, you know, the town manager and what working with the health director. I mean, Charles was pretty clear last Monday about, you know, where he is on things. And, you know, the concern too is that as people get vaccinated, that more people are going to be less careful about wearing their mask.
Right.
And they're, you know, really more than half our staff is not going to be vaccinated by the time we reopen, I would guess. So that's a concern.
Well, I was in the New Britain Library a couple of weeks ago, and, you know, their parking is spotty, but it seemed like there were a lot of cars there. So I expected crowds, and you could shoot a deer.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't know where they were hiding. I mean, people were in there, but they weren't in the main area, you know, at the circ desk or anything. So.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, is there any plan for the librarians to get the vaccination through the town?
Well, I mean, it's really, they're following, you know, like I got my first shot last Thursday, and I was able to get it at the senior center because I'm of the age group, and also they had my name, you know, they were taking names of anybody 55 or above, and if they had openings, you know, the priority was 65 and above, but if they had openings, they called. I got called like 1:30 and they asked if I could be there by 2, and I was. So, but they're not vaccinating people that are not in the right age group. But as things are opening, you know, as those age groups open up, they are encouraging people to come and get vaccinated. And I know they have something going on, I think tomorrow, that was opened up by the Board of Ed for town employees, but you have to be 55 or older. So not everybody can get vaccinated until, you know, their turn comes.
Yeah. I get it.
So
Thank you.
I want to go to Chris Minor. He's been patiently waiting with his hand up, and then I'll go to Laurel and then Leanne. Chris?
Thank you. No, I just wanted to follow up on what Lisa was saying. Charles has been rather adamant to understand the infection rate that we had 2 weeks ago at our council meeting for that previous week was at 24 per 100,000. The orange is 14 per 100,000. As of our last Thursdays, it's updated every Thursday. So as of last Thursday, we were sitting at 18 per 100,000. So our next one would be this upcoming Thursday. All all the information I've seen show that we continue to go down. I'm hoping that we can start to redevelop some town services in person, hopefully when it's allowable, but I'm encouraged that the numbers continue to fall to the level where we may be able to reopen at least some programming, maybe by the end of the month.
Okay.
So,
We're all hopeful. Thank you, Chris.
thanks.
Laurel, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, well, one thing, I used to work at the New Britain Library for several years, and I'll bet their square footage in the children's department is equal to the whole square footage of the Newington Library. I mean, Newington is so cramped for footage. It's very difficult to open to the public, and I understand why we haven't so far. I wanted to ask, when you do open to the public, Lisa, will you still have curb service?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
great.
we will. Yep. Because I
Is
think
that-
some people like it, and
Oh,
I think
yes,
you're
it's wonderful.
going to see a combination of it. Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good. And Leanne, you are next up with questions.
Oh, not a question, just a comment. I happen to be volunteering with the vaccine clinics that are with the CERT team. I think there's a misconception out there that these clinics that are being run by the town are like the state programs. The Central Connecticut Health District gets X amount of dosages, and they only know how many because they're going to get the Friday before of the week that's coming up on the planned dosages. So they're much smaller amounts, and they're targeting the older population, as Lisa mentioned, the 65 plus or those with compromised health situations, and that's being coordinated through the senior center directors. The school program that went through, I think when it gets put forward, it's not, there's quite a protocol that the nurses and the people who man the medical end of these clinics. It's not just your standard nursing staff give the vaccination. It's quite involved. So there's a lot of training that has to go into just the people who are going to perform it, never mind getting the dosages. So I think as we move forward, things will get better. But I've got to commend our Central Connecticut Health District because they are really doing a really good job of getting those folks, particularly those who aren't internet savvy. That's who we're targeting, are people who can't get on the VAM system and find a place to run to get their So I just wanted you to clarify, it's not like we have endless, unlimited doses coming in. It's a small amount for this. So it's very difficult for us to say we're going to vaccinate all the town employees or whatever.
Thank you, Leanne. Appreciate that. Okay. Anything else, Lisa, with your report or what's going on in the library?
No.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the Assistant Library Director's report. Karen Benner. Karen?
Hello.
Hi.
Just a quick update about where we are in the hiring process. So we held 14 interviews in the past 2 weeks for the CERC children's and reference positions that are open. And we have now 3 candidates that have accepted offers. We're in the process of extending the additional ones. So we hope to get at least a few people started on board later this month. There's, some paperwork and stuff that they have to go through. I'm still focusing on training with the new full-time staff members that we have that were hired within the last couple of months. Although my role is diminishing some as they're getting more and more comfortable in their positions, so that's a good thing. We also have created in the past couple of weeks some short promotional videos. Don't know if any of you have seen them, but we've advertised some of our programs, services. We've shared it across our social media. It's been posted on the website. So we're going to continue to do that. We have staff that have volunteered, different staff members getting involved to do them on, things that are near and dear. And Lisa's smiling because she can probably tell you more directly because I think she was quasi involved in at least a couple of them. Right, Lisa?
Jeanette did a video, and when she said volunteered, she did quotes. We were volunteered, so people aren't volunteering necessarily. They're being volunteered.
And then just, let's see, lastly, I know I've talked about this before, but we're really happy with how our virtual book talk group is going. We continue to get new people. We've got a nice, diverse group, like, nice age range, different backgrounds. And it's really been fun. So we are looking at extending that to a daytime slot as well, to offer it for people who the 7 o'clock at night isn't the most convenient for them. So we're going to be working on that.
Karen, do you want to tell them who was your guest speaker last Thursday?
Yeah, Stuart Onan. So I don't know if, I know Laurel's familiar with him, but yeah, we did one of his books. He was a local author, although he's nationally known. He's just an incredible writer. It was kind of interesting. We did one of his books. It was called Songs for the Missing, and the subject matter was a little hard. It was about a disappearance. But Jeanette had Stuart at the library. I don't know what, Lisa, probably at least 20 years ago. And so she kind of on a whim said, oh, I'm just going to reach out to him. And he said, yeah, sure, I'll come. So we had our book discussion, and he was there, and it was amazing. It was wonderful. Anyway, yeah, when we recorded it, so we'll be getting that out and up on the website too. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Super. That sounds great, Karen. Anyone have questions for Karen? No?
I just have one. I'm sorry. Wait,
go ahead, Neil.
I didn't catch the name of the author that you were referring to.
Oh, Stuart Onan.
Okay, I've heard the name. Yeah, okay.
Stuart wrote the Circus Fire, the Hartford. Remember when he spoke? I think he might have spoken at an annual meeting, and he spoke about his book, and we actually had survivors from that event came to that book wasn't that it, Diane? I don't know if you guys remember. Pretty sure it was a board annual meeting too. Or maybe it was
could have been.
Oh, sorry.
I think he spoke
last night at the Lobster. You might be familiar with that.
Yeah. But he spoke more than once, I think.
I think he did. I think you're right, Maureen. I think he spoke it twice at the library.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, Karen, you mentioned that it was a hard book. I think all of his books are disturbing in a sense. I mean, they're good, but they're.
Maureen.
Pardon me?
Okay. It's interesting that you say that because he said that about himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're not happy ending, fuzzy, warm books.
I remember him speaking at the Newington Library when we were doing 4 libraries, 1 book. That may be what Jeanette remembers.
I remember him speaking in the council chambers. So that was a while ago.
Yes. And he's a charming man. As well as a good
Very
writer.
nice.
Thank you.
Well, that was a great coup to get him. It was good that Jeanette was able to reach out. That's super. Okay, we'll move on to Friends of the Library with Sheila Rowell.
There's not much to tell. We continue to work in the basement, sorting through and packaging up the books on request that we've been selling. That's been pretty popular, and we've been able to find a lot of the books that they're looking for. We continue at Karma's Closet and on her website. But we're looking to try to do some level of a book sale outside on April 17th. That's what we're thinking, weather permitting, we may be able to pull that off. Especially now that it's getting a little warmer, we can get out into the container and see what books are out there too, which will be helpful.
So are you running out of books?
We're not running out of books. We're running out of books that people are asking for.
And when do you think you might be ready to accept books?
Probably, we'll talk about it Wednesday night. We have been getting donations. And we've been some surprising donations that have come in of recent stuff from various places. People have called and we accepted smaller donation amounts. So probably start looking to accept some more pretty soon, especially once we get into the container and have some more space.
Yes, Leanne, go ahead.
I just had a question about that same thing about donations. I actually had 2 people ask me last week if the Friends, I know you're doing your bags of books and things like that. Several of the people I'm acquainted with, puzzles, jigsaw puzzles have been very popular during the course of the last year. And they've kind of reached their limit on what they've done of their own, and they have things to donate, or they're wondering if the Friends or the library have puzzles that can be purchased, new ones. And I was wondering if that was something that was in your, planned inventory.
We don't have, the last time I was in the downstairs, we don't have a lot down there. There's just a few. I'll bring it up on Wednesday night and we'll see.
I think you'll have, if you were to be looking for it, I think you'd get a lot of donations because people have been doing so many of them over the course of the last year. But I think there's still an interest in them because people have gone back to doing things like that.
Yeah, that's great. Great
Leanne,
thought.
we've been taking, if people have called and wanted to make donations, we've been taking their name and phone number and giving it to Michelle. That's how they've gotten some of those smaller donations, but we don't have the ability right now to take anything large. But we are taking their name and number and calling them, at least getting back to them.
I was just wondering if jigsaw puzzles fell into that category that the Friends would be involved in. It's not a book, but it's an activity, so to speak, that, we've been pushing the activity packages and things like that. So.
Well, we do have gotten donations of them in the past. And again, I think there are some out in the container. And I'll be over there Thursday, so maybe we can go out and look and see if there are any in there.
Well, that might be one of those things you could bag up in a bag, and sell them that way. Because like I said, people are looking for new ones, but they're not going out and wanting to buy new ones. You do a puzzle once, you tend not to do it again.
Yeah.
So Sheila, this is Diane, and as somebody who has been doing puzzles with family members, different ages, different skill levels, I guess one of the things that I would suggest is if you put the word out that you're willing to accept them, that you might give some guidelines, like you really want puzzles that they know don't have missing pieces, and maybe they want to put the puzzle pieces themselves inside of a Ziploc bag or a sealed bag inside the box, because I can see, it's a nightmare. If the lid falls off or if the side splits, you don't know that you've gotten all the pieces, and nobody's going to put together a 500-piece puzzle. And, they're some of them can be challenging enough when they're a rectangle, and some of the more advanced puzzles where you have pictures inside of pictures in the shape of an elephant or a peacock or something like that. I don't know how a volunteer organization would be able to track that. So you might, if you're going to put out the word that you would accept those or that you might have them, just some kind of a way to maintain that. So you can tell that I did some puzzle management as part of my COVID activities. And that would be lessons learned. Don't ever drop the box if the puzzle pieces aren't in a sealed bag. So that would be my point there. So
great idea.
Suggestion. Okay. Anything else for the Friends? No, thank you. We'll continue on with committee reports. Budget, Maureen?
Well, Keith has submitted his budget to the council. So I don't know if there's been any activity since then. They would be the ones
Maureen, we haven't heard anything about the budget other than what we,
that it was submitted.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was a 3.3% increase that he proposed. But when I was reading some of the detail, and there's, the budget is so encompassing. I thought it was interesting that one of the, of course, they talked about the facilities and the buildings, et cetera, et cetera. But that there is, Newington is looking forward at some point to collaboration and sharing of services with other towns. So I thought that was an interesting, I know that that's been discussed over the years, but it was highlighted, initially with like Berlin, Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, but then they also talked about New Britain. Anyway, thought that was interesting, but the budget's been submitted and hopefully nobody will touch our meager little offering.
Though we'll always take donations. We'll take line items to come in. Okay, anybody have questions for Maureen? No, okay, and then just a reminder of what Dave had said before, the budget will be discussed on Saturday, March 20th, sometime after 9 a.m. when they're doing the discussion of several different departments at that time. Okay, I don't see anyone with questions, so we'll move forward to PEP, Planning, Evaluation, and Policy. Laurel Goodgen?
Yes, hello. Lisa regrets that she's unable to attend the meeting tonight, but she did send a report to Diane and me that she has received 8 responses on the library director evaluation form that she developed, and she plans on having it completed within the week, and we'll set up a time to meet with Diane to go over the results of that. So thank you, everybody that submitted a evaluation.
So Laurel,
and if you haven't, please do.
She's not looking for 100% participation?
Well, certainly that's her hope.
Right, so there's 4 people that still owe a evaluation in. So if you're one of the folks that have not returned an evaluation, reach out to myself or Laurel or Lisa, and we'll be happy to get you a copy or help you get that done. And then we'll.
Just one point.
I see you, Neil. Yep. Just let me finish the thought. And when we go through and figure out who it is, I'll actually tap on the shoulder, give the person a call and see what the issue is, why we're not getting an evaluation back. Go ahead, Neil.
I was just going to say, I think at last month's meeting or past couple months, there was some discussion as far as newer board members and whether or not they should submit an evaluation. And I think what we decided was that they should submit the report or submit the evaluation and complete as much of it as they can. Some of the things they might not be able to comment on in any great detail, but we said, well, just submit it with what you can comment on. So I don't know if that's
right.
Part of the problem. People think that they don't have to submit anything because they're new, but I think we decided that no, they do have to submit something with whatever information they have to submit.
Yes, that was the final consensus at the end of the other meeting. And as I said, I'll reach out individually to folks if they haven't returned the evaluation. Okay. Laurel, anything else that you want to talk about under PEP?
Well, we also have, we've been looking at a chapter from the ACLB manual every month, and the chapter 9 is on fundraising. I was thinking when I read this chapter that it's probably an outline of what Newington went through in the 80s when they were going through the renovation and extension of the library. It's a very thorough description of in-depth fundraising, and not every library goes through that very often, but it's a good handbook to have on hand. And then Anna probably could comment on fundraising in general because she's always doing that.
All right, Laurel, you opened up the door for me. Well, yes, we could have written the chapter. There's no surprising news here, but I was impressed with the last page that had all the suggested links for the grants.
Yes.
And that's something certainly for us to explore moving forward.
Thank you. That's it for PEP.
Okay. Thank you. Leanne, I see your hands raised.
Well, it just occurred to me, we had received this afternoon the job description for the board members.
Yes.
I'm wondering if previous discussion in your report was about the evaluation reports, if maybe we shouldn't have a bullet point that says that's one of the responsibilities of a board member, is to fill out the library director's evaluation.
Touche.
I mean, food for thought on the next, redo, because we talk about all the different things they have to do, be in the race, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
That's part of what we're supposed to be doing.
Correct. Good point, Leanne.
Okay, that's it.
Under responsibilities of individual board members, number 5, annually participate in evaluating the library director's performance.
Oh, well, you
and
have it on
preparing a
there.
written
How did I
performance
miss it?
evaluation.
See, I'm blind. Okay, all right.
We didn't say
on there.
fill in the revaluation, but yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Diane.
Well,
I'm glad you're.
participate, would cover it.
Yep. Okay.
You had me second guessing.
Well, I thought I had seen it, but then I just reread it, but I did it without the glasses, so I'm blind. Okay.
I just emailed it and I didn't remember that was there. So thank you.
You're welcome. Excellent job. It's already in there. We anticipated. Okay, the fundraising. And next up would be investment committee with Neil.
Yes. Sunday, I sent out the monthly report for our portfolio. And as of February 28th, 21, our portfolio value stood at $745,288.46. So we had a good month in February. We were up $6,266. So for the year, we're up a little under $3,000, 0.39%. It's early in the year. And that's where we're at as of February 28th. And it's noted that $487,266 is restricted. So that's approximately 65.3% of the portfolio is restricted, just for informational purposes. And that is the report I sent out on Sunday. And this morning I sent out another report just for informational purposes, just to give an idea where our portfolio stands and how we've been doing. This report shows what our portfolio balance was as of January 1st, 2019, and where it stands effective February 2021. So in a little over 2 years, we've gone from $573,000 to $745,288, which is a gain of $172,048.56. That's in a little over 2 years. And that represents approximately a 30% return over the course of 2 years plus 2 months. Now, that's the kind of return that Warren Buffett would be proud of. Seriously, just to give an idea of how well the fund has been doing, how well Dean has been doing with the fund. The man's a wizard. I just want to present this information to the board just to show how well the fund has been doing over the last 2+ years. And he's doing very well. That's my report.
Thank you, Neil. I think it is nice to have that year-over-year comparison. Easy to read. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Neil? No. All right. Moving on from treasurer's or investment report, we'll go to the House report with Laurel.
Yes, and I'd rather have Lisa do this because it seems that what's happening to the building keeps changing every day. So Lisa has the most recent information on that.
You're muted,
Oh,
Lisa.
you're muted.
I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted myself. So this morning we had a water leak in the community room, which was kind of the biggest bummer was that the rugs are new. And we had our books, we had bins of books sitting on top of it. But luckily the bins weren't plastic, so the books didn't get damaged. So anyway, it's something to do with a hot water heater. If it's still dripping tomorrow, they're going to replace the whole hot water heater. But I don't think it had been going on that long because Dave, our maintenance guy, who works 15 hours a week, has been really, really good about walking around the building every morning. And he's the one that's found the leaks in the ceiling. He's the one that found this leak today. So we're lucky that we have him because it could have gone on longer had we not really been paying attention there. But you couldn't really miss it because it was kind of squishy when you walked across it. So that's being taken care of. And they did come in and they extracted the water from the rug and they have a fan drying it right now. So hopefully tomorrow will be fine. And then the other thing is we have some shelving upstairs that's new. It's the mobile shelving and we're having a problem with one of the shelves bowing, but we're working with a vendor. And I think one of the issues is the books are heavy. And because of the kind of shelving it is, we might have to be a little bit more careful about that. But those are the only two things that we had to worry about today. And that's it.
Today. Okay. Thank you. It's not easy to take care of a grand old lady, is it?
No.
All right. Facility and site, Maureen.
Well, in keeping with what Laurel said and Lisa's intimate knowledge, she had sent me and Diane an email about the roof. I guess the rubber part of the roof is still under warranty. So that's good news. And Paul Boutot is addressing or feels that the problem with the leaks have been addressed and he's getting quotes in other areas, for instance, with the skylights and the part of the roof where the tiles are falling off. So attention is being paid to these issues. It just, like with the leak in the community room, it's just like you take a step forward and two backwards sometimes, And I hate to beat the dead horse, but I always feel like we're just putting Band-Aids on the building issues. That's it.
Go ahead, Leanne. I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just, I've lost it in transit here, but I'm still looking for the fully executed copy of the contract amendment so that I can, one of the originals, so I can put it in the safety deposit box. Hasn't come over. We have the plans now. They came over. They're at the library. But I don't have the agreement, the original. All we have are the copies that I've seen through email as far as I've got.
So the signed Word document you don't have, you just have the plans.
Right.
Okay. We should be able to get a copy of that from the clerk's office, right, James?
Yeah, I'll take a look in the morning and see. I've got to check the date that we did that secondary recording with the mapping.
Okay.
If it's been done already and my auditor's been in, I'll make sure that we get the extra copy. So you've got one for the safety deposit and the extra one as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem. And on that same note, when was I going to see you for the storage on the records?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm busy doing everybody's taxes, so I haven't sorted through the boxes yet.
That's not a problem. I just want to make sure, keep it on the back burner.
I understand that, and I've talked to Lisa a little bit about storage at the library, but I haven't gotten as clear as going through all the boxes to sort out what we don't need at all. So I will. Believe me, I want to get rid of the boxes.
Great, thank you. And James, once the boxes are over there, how do we go about getting access to them?
Just let me know when you need them.
Okay.
Yep, that's not a problem. I'm there quite often, as most of you know. So that's not a problem having access.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you. So that was facility and site, and we'll move in if there's no other questions. Oh, Dave, I'm sorry, I see your hand up.
That's okay. I just want to let everyone know that the library roof situation is on the council meeting under old business for tomorrow night. So we are, as a council, keeping very intense overview and sight in terms of what's happening in terms of that situation. And we want to make certain that everything is transparent as possible and that things are taken care of, even though, as Maureen mentioned, it may seem like a Band-Aid at the moment, but at least something is done, and at least there's a warranty for at least part of the recent situation that occurred. That's it.
Thank you, Dave. It's good to know that the council is fully aware of our issues.
We try.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Any other questions? No, then I'll move on to fund development with Anna Eddy.
Thanks, Diane. Gail, you don't have to write this down. I have my notes written, so I'll send them to you. I just want to bring up something that we talked about in mid-year 2017, where all the trustees attended a virtual webinar held by the American Library Association, and we focused on library branding, messaging, and building a community support base. One of the things that came out of that workshop and that came into play around the same time was we were working on a logo for the Legacy Society. And at that time, it was decided to put development of the Legacy Society on hold until we know what we're going to do with the actual library's logo. Were we going to, keep the same logo? Were we going to incorporate the image of the building or the entrance window that's over the main entrance right now, or something entirely new? And then recently, Lisa Jones and I attended a new online workshop on logo branding that was sponsored by Network for Good. And this latest workshop reinforced what we already knew, that we should have a visually seamless logo brand between the library and the Legacy Society. So in other words, the Legacy Society logo should be immediately recognizable as being connected to the library and not something separate from the library. And so we're not forgetting that we need to do this kind of thing, and just keeping up to date with current trends. That's basically what we're doing. And I brought Lisa Jones in because she's chair of communications, and in some of the materials that she distributed recently, she mentioned branding. So that's what we did together. On another note, Lisa Maston and I continue to collaborate on changes for the Legacy Society's web pages, and we are actually going to have a meeting tomorrow, a conversation on the phone rather, to talk more about the incorporation of the online giving link. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Anna. Anyone have questions for Anna? No? Okay. It's great to see the different committees working together on some of the information that we have to put together, and it makes it a little bit more seamless for our look and our feel. All I'll move on to nominations with Maureen.
No report at this time.
Thank you. And then communications. Lisa Jones is the chair, and she could not attend our meeting tonight. Pauline, I know that you've been involved in a lot of the communications meetings. Did you want to say anything or share at this point? You're on mute.
No, we're going to be meeting this coming Monday at 6:30. So we'll be discussing some things, but nothing that it was surprising. I had gone to my task for this past month was to make a presentation about the library's woes to the Newington Democratic Town Committee. And I got pushback from one member. Oh my God. You didn't hear the God part, but the person felt that we were sort of stepping on Parks and Rec. And I was talking about that the library is big enough because people just read books and we don't need more books, and trying to discuss the changes that the library theory has, the way libraries has changed. And we wanted to be more community inclusive. She said, well, that's what Parks and Rec does. And I said, we needed more meeting space. And that's what we built the town hall for. And it was stressful from someone who I didn't expect that from. But so we do have a PR problem. I didn't expect this, but we do have a PR problem as to what a library is. We have changed. We know we have changed, but I guess some of the people that either don't use the library, who are also town people who do vote, maybe they don't use the library, that they're worrying about their tax dollars, and is there overlap of services. And I was saying, well, I've worked with Park and Rec, but I've taken Park and Rec courses. And I said, basically was that the library sort of whets your appetite, and you go to Park and Rec for like crafts, and you go there for 6 to 11 weeks. Yeah. So it was instructive. So we do have some things that we have to work on.
I love your response, Pauline, that the library whets the appetite. Yes. I believe quite some time ago, and Lisa, you can correct me if I'm misquoting, but you had this whole discussion with Mr. DeMeo.
I did. I think that we have changed. We have become more of a community center. I think one of the big differences is that we don't charge people to use the programs, and we're not doing a program like if we do like a Tai Chi program, which we've done in the past, it's not to do it weekly, it's to do it once, tell people the benefits, tie in the collection, and give them resources that they can go out and do it in the community. And one of the resources we always give is Parks and Rec. And the other thing is they are doing story times. So then you have to question, if they're questioning us, why are they doing story times when that's what we do as well? I mean, I think there is some overlap, but we're not trying to compete with them at all. We're trying to give people opportunities to try things, to cultural enrichment, learning environment, things like that. But we do encourage them to go to Parks and Rec if they want to continue to do some of these programs. And I also think the meeting space, again, we're offering free meeting space, and a lot of them are nonprofits that can't afford necessarily to pay other places to rent out the space, whether it's available or not. So, there's a huge difference. And we did have this discussion, I think, in front of the town council as well, about what we do, why we do it. And, we're not trying to compete with Parks and Rec that way at all. We're trying to I think we can coexist, and I think we do. And I think we're also really good about telling people what they have to offer. I will say that we get a lot of calls about their programs, and we give them information to either, register or to call the Parks and Rec themselves. So it's a little discouraging when you keep hearing that. And I don't think it's fair either for someone to judge what our purpose is, because everybody's purpose changes. And we're trying to change with, what the needs of the community are. So I think, I think we try to support Parks and Rec as much as we can, and we do it on a daily basis too.
But is that
Laurel, you had your
support
hand up.
reciprocal?
I don't know. I mean, I think they seem willing to work with us, but we have completely different intents. And I think one of the big thing is we don't charge, they do, and that's a difference. And I'm not criticizing them for that at all, but that is a huge difference for us. And
Heck, they even charge us.
But I think it's a good thing for them if we offer them a one-time program, that they're offering a 6 weeks program, because someone might try the one-time program we're doing and say, this is great, I want to take, a course at Parks and Rec, or I want to do a class or whatever. But, I think we try to work well with them. They seem to be open to it with us. So I'm not really sure sometimes where this is coming from.
Laurel, you had your hand up?
Yes, well, what Pauline was just saying made me think of something in this fundraising chapter from ACLB. And at the beginning of the fundraising chapter, they talk about the research that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation did. And perceptions of librarians are an important predictor of library funding support. And then this really goes to it. Voters who see the library as a transformational force as opposed to an informational source are more likely to approve an increase in taxes for its support. It's getting that message across that libraries do transform lives, and they do it in many different ways. And the programming that Lisa's talking about is one of those ways. Books are another one of those ways. We open doors for people. And I think that's a very important message to get across as the library moves forward. Thank you.
You're welcome. Neil, I see your hand up. Go ahead, Neil. Neil, you're on mute if you're trying to talk. There you go.
Lisa.
Yes.
I just had a question. You mentioned that you've talked with Bill DeMayo from Parks and Rec. And I imagine your conversations have been cordial, right? Productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Right.
like, I sometimes get the impression that some people on this board look at Parks and Rec as an enemy, and they're not an enemy. They're a town agency like we are, trying to do the best job that they can. And Lisa, you're doing the right thing, talking to Bill DeMayo, discussing differences and trying to work things out in a reasonable, cordial manner. And you're doing the right thing. And I just want to tell you that. But I sometimes get the feeling that some people on this board look at Parks and Rec as an enemy. And they're not an enemy. They're a town agency like we are, trying to do the best job they can with what they have. That's all.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks, Neil. Chris, I see your hand up.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I think that Pauline brings a perspective that has been an inherent problem in the 6 years that I've been involved. And there seems to be what I call the silo syndrome, that is each entity is only concerned about their own and not concerned about anybody else or their other groups being a threat to them. I think Lisa brought up a great point that, it is about whetting the appetite and trying something just once to see if you like it before you go invest the time and money to pursue a long-term program. So I think that each offers their own specific purpose that I think moving forward, just as a whole, that the town needs to do a better job in trying to be inclusive of different departments and entities, to be inclusive versus proprietary and exclusive. So I think you guys do a great job on trying to offer different programming and trying to evolve, because library programming now is for sure no different than it was a year or two ago, but much different, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I applaud the efforts, and I just ask anybody to not be discouraged with it. And we'll try to, on a policy standpoint, to try to push for more inclusion. Thanks. Appreciate it.
I'm just gonna, one thing I do want to add is just that we do work with them as far as we supported them in the summer. We did programming for them, and we were happy to do it for 6 weeks. We put aside time and staffing to give the campers programs. So we do work with them that way. And, we do try to do that. And just sometimes, you do have a little bit of a different purpose, but you don't, but we try to be respectful of what they're doing. We've tried to coordinate sometimes bigger events so they're not overlapping, or we're not doing the same thing, so that everybody gets, that we can all do or coexist, together the way it should be. So,
Sure.
And, Bill's been very open about doing stuff with us, and they've offered, it's in fact, last summer when the whole COVID thing hit, he was offering some of his staff to do pre-recorded programs for us. So I think it works well both ways. And also by them doing that, they got the word out that they were offering these things. So I think we're trying to do that. And that's been, and it's a good thing for everybody involved. And it's good for, the community to see that, us doing that as well.
Sure. Yeah. And this is something that is just not these two particular bodies. This is something I've just seen in general, over my 5 or 6 years of being involved in it. And it's not quite sure why it is, but it can be sometimes. And I guess it's just a matter of trying to make sure that you're offering the best programming that you can to the public, and they're as supportive to your organization as anywhere else. So I appreciate all the efforts that you do, and the continued collaboration is definitely not something that's taken for granted. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Dave, you have your hand up?
Yes, just to continue with Chris Minor's comments, that it's not just the last 6 years, but over the last 12 to 15 years that I've been involved on the council or in town and somewhere, there are always people who are going to be anti something. So I am not surprised to hear that someone said that the library doesn't serve a vital purpose. It's usually a person who doesn't understand or who isn't open enough to realize that the library serves a worthwhile purpose, as does Parks and Rec. And I do agree with Councilor Minor that also there are should I say fiefdoms that seem to have existed, that people think that only their particular department, I'm not talking about department heads, exist and others are inferior to them. And I'm pleased to see that Lisa Maston has pointed out that the Parks and Rec and the library have been sharing and have been collaborating as much as possible, and that indeed there are shared services in town in terms of that elderly newsletter. Things of that sort should be fostered, as opposed to each entity is separate, because they do collaborate with each other, and those who just have a stubborn, narrow insight and refuse to open up will always, unfortunately, be there in any community. And we can only hope that the majority realizes that that each department and each service serves its purpose, and they work better if they work together. And while someone may not use one department or another, that they understand that it is vital for the community generally, and for those that value what a library can bring, as opposed to what a physical activity in a gymnasium can bring, that they're positives in both senses. So I applaud you all for hopefully for understanding that and realizing that this is not just a one-time thing. It has been going on for probably far longer than Mr. Minor ourselves have been active or maybe even living in town. Unfortunately, there are always people like that. I go on too long. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I kind of want to bring this around. A lot of what the communications committee has been doing is trying to figure out how to reach out to others. I think, as you know, there are people in this town that use the library and are fully aware of all the services that the library can bring to it. And we do a very good job of reaching the people that use the library on a regular basis. And some of the things that the communications committee is trying to do is reach out to people that maybe haven't used the library since they wrote their last term paper. Maybe it's a nice building that they go by, but they don't seem to feel like they need to go out to that. And that's one of the reasons Pauline tried to reach out to the Democratic Committee in her meeting and just talk about what was going on and update them, because libraries are different than they were 20 years ago. They're different than they were 5 years ago. And, you know, COVID has done all sorts of different things. So we are trying to educate more of the public in terms of what the library can bring to you, what happens from that end, and trying to work with other departments. Christine, one of the things that Christine Shushin did, and she's also on the communications committee, she had reached out. We were trying to think of the different departments and areas to reach out to for the committee, and she reached out to Human Services and to the Senior Center, and we're also trying not to overlap. So at that point, Christine then kind of hooked back in with Karen Benner, our assistant director, to find out what was going on with some of the communications and how we might help get the word out to what the library could do, or bring services to folks that don't necessarily come to the library on a regular basis. So that was very encouraging. And I know that they've reached out to do that. One of the, they were talking about the puzzles, some coloring pages in books, maybe to have letters written up to do the grab and go packages. And I think Karen kind of talked about some of those things during her report. So it's important. We want to get that word out to folks that maybe haven't been to the library lately or are not aware of what's going on. The other most important thing to know about the library is our charter is that we're a free library. And way back when, that term sounds so old-fashioned, but it is the cornerstone of library services, that you can go in and do so many things there for free, which is why we do the life learning and the kind of the one get to understand what it is. But we don't run programs for 6 weeks with a fee, and that actually, you know, would compete with some of the other departments in town. But we do life learning, and our charge as a library is try to get the word out, not to the people that have used the library and can appreciate it or are current with what the services are, but what about all the other people that have not been inside a library in the last couple of years, or maybe they just picked it up again due to the COVID and what's happening, what's going on. So the communications committee has been working pretty hard. They've been having almost bi-weekly meetings with some tasks to do to reach out to folks. And we're trying to get that communication out there because it is important, not only for the daily business of the library, but it is important to get an idea for folks when we start going to referendum again, hopefully when we're talking about renovations and expansions. We want people to know what library services are available today. And we want people to understand what needs to change in the library, why we need the expansion, why we need the rooms, what services are being provided to town for that. It's not just so that we can, you know, vacuum more carpet. We really do need more room. We've talked earlier about some of the constraints through this time of COVID because of the layout and sizing of the library. So depending on what time of day you go in there, it may not seem crowded to you, but there are people that get turned away or can't be in there. So I think we've done a lot with what we've had. And again, the communications committee has been doing a great job trying to reach out and find innovative ways or pockets of people who may not have recent experience with the library, and how can we get the word out as to what we can do for them, what kind of service we can do for them. So kudos to the committee for working hard and going through that. But I think there are many times that we will run into folks that are like, you don't need it. I don't know what you're doing. You know, it's costly. People, as you said, you know, everybody has their pet projects or their pet things. So it's natural that the library would try to reach out and educate folks on what the library can provide. I mean, that's really part of the charter for the library is lifelong learning. And if part of that learning is where you can get some of this information, be that the library, that's what we're doing. So Pauline, I'm sorry you were on the hot seat for that. Sounds like you handled it very well. And we'll just keep going forward and try to do those things. So hopefully people will realize that we're all stronger together when we work together. So we'll go through from that end. If anybody else.
Diane, it's Iris.
Hi, Iris. Yes, go ahead.
I've been thinking about this, and I might have mentioned it before, but I was wondering if it might be beneficial, advantageous for us to try and work with NCTV and have some sort of I don't know whether you could have like a tour of the library or the services that the library has, because people do watch NCTV and we could hit a lot of people that maybe don't even know about coming into the library. Just
That's
a
good
thought
suggestion. You should bring it up. Yep, it's a good suggestion, Iris. You should bring it up on the next communications committee. I think it's next week. You probably have the invite from
Lisa
Jones.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. So
I'll email her.
Basically the okay, good. That's basically the update on the communications plan for where we are now. The individual communication members have been signed up for some tasks and are reaching out to try and set up that communication. So moving on, old business. Now we'll talk about the Library 5K Challenge Road Race. So it is October 3rd, which means we really have to have things lined up well ahead of time. So to Anna's point earlier and to Neil's suggestion, when do we think it would be a good time to start our race meetings? And, we certainly can get Kevin Mason involved in that again. Being fully aware that probably we need to advertise the race. Certainly we could set up registration now. We could warn people that current rules say no same-day registration, but they also say no award ceremonies and no refreshments. So that can be a little bit of a difference of a complexion. Of course, they could back that all off in May and then put it all back in September. So we really don't know, but open to suggestions. Anna, if you want to pick up from where you left off earlier, and Neil will come to you as well.
I think it might be prudent to have a preliminary meeting and just sketch out some of these things. It would be good to let the runners know that we're planning for October 3rd. The timing is good because it's the week before the Hartford Marathon event. So maybe some of those runners, might want to use our course as a, as a warm up, so to speak. And then, and then we can talk about logistics and other things. I mean, I know we can't have, for instance, we can't do refreshments, but maybe we can do to-go bags for refreshments. I don't know if that's something that we can do, but everything's in a bag and they get to the finish line and we hand them the bag with their refreshments. And then whatever else, and just let people know that this, the day, it's going to be a fluid race. We will offer what we can as we get closer to that date, but we're not making any promises in advance.
Okay.
But for the runner
Neil?
community, I think it's important that we get our date out. That's the key.
Okay. All right. Good point. Neil? Go ahead, Neil.
I think we should probably contact Kevin Mason, very soon, and either meet with him at prior to our next meeting in April, just to discuss what we've discussed here, how we're going to go about proceeding. See, normally when the race is held in May, we start our road race meetings in January, 4 months. So we've got the race in October, September, August, July, June, May, May, June, we want to have a meeting. But I think we should contact Kevin, very soon and just discuss all this with him, if possible, prior to our next monthly meeting. If we can meet at 6:30 with Kevin, I think that would be a good thing to do.
I mean, we could
Okay, so are
actually
you
meet
gonna
any
take-
day with, I'm sorry, we could meet any day with Kevin. It doesn't necessarily have to be, 30 minutes before this meeting. We might need just a little bit more time just because of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
logistics.
Right. So Neil and Anna, why don't you set up a call with Kevin to try and figure out where we want to end up with this. And then maybe for the May and June meetings, if you're open to it, we would have our 6:30 race meeting with the full board and the race folks, because of course we want to get the CERT people and the radio league and some of the other volunteers that we have on board, letting them know the dates as well and what kind of support we would need, right? So maybe
Correct.
you can set up that first call with Kevin with the intent that we might kick off those meetings. And I'm thinking that we would do May and June because those are normally library board meetings. And then we would skip July and we would do August and September, if you think that would work. We could
That
certainly
sounds like a
call a
reasonable
race
plan.
meeting. I was going to
All
say,
right,
we can
I'll-
certainly call a meeting
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
in July if it was needed.
I'll reach out to Kevin tomorrow and get back to you and Neil.
Okay.
That
And
sounds great.
I'll try and look for the email from Ken Platt, our timer, because he had he had listed the current COVID racing rules. So I'll try to find that and send it out to you guys, you guys again, just before you have your call with Kevin, so you know where we're going.
Okay.
It is fluid, to your point, Anna, but it's a good point. We should start picking up on that and advertising it so we can get the word out.
Sounds
I
good.
agree. I think the key is to let people know that we are having a race and when we're having it.
Right,
Yeah, because come fall, there's going to be an awful lot of races, I think.
Right.
A lot of people have postponed.
right. So to that point, we could start the online registrations and go through with all of that.
Yep.
I did have a recent conversation with our t-shirt vendor. He is still in business and hoping to do business with us if we get our race. So I told him it was currently planned for October. Leanne, I saw your hand up.
Well, it's not just the date for the racers, it's to remind our sponsors and donors as well.
Right.
Again, I think there'll be a different configuration because it's a new world out there in terms of who's able to support us, but we might have to beat the bushes a bit harder. As it is, we're going into this year without our major sponsor.
Right. So Anna has always been an incredible sponsor finder, negotiator as that goes through. But we can use help from anybody and everybody as that goes through. But with Keeney Manufacturing being sold, they're no longer the top sponsor on the front of the T-shirt. So that spot is up for grabs.
Who do you
I know
know?
it's been a tough year.
Hi,
Yeah.
this is Maureen. Would it be, as part of the communication race plan, acceptable or kosher to do some kind of article publicly thanking Keeney for all the years of their support?
We did that already, Maureen.
But did we say, and now we're without a top supporter? Where was it, in the crier?
Yeah, there were letters to the editor in the crier, and I thought we did it in Newington Life.
Newington Life.
But as an article or a letter to the editor?
It was the letter to the editor.
I don't know, maybe it's too late to do that, but just to put it out there so somebody might be reading it and say, oh, gee, I would love to sponsor that race, you know, you never know.
Well, we can certainly call the Newington Life, and they've always been great to work with, and see if we can come up with something in that direction.
Do we know what the readership is of Newington Life?
Well, it gets delivered to every household, as opposed to the town crier now.
Which isn't published, right?
Oh, it is
Just-
published, but you have to go
online, but
Yeah.
online. So
which is a whole different game.
right, and that right off the bat obviates a good part of the senior population. Yeah, I don't know. Something
Okay,
to think
good
about.
thoughts. We'll keep thinking and trying to consider what's happening there. Okay, next item is open board positions. And actually, as of this evening, I have yet another open board position. Pam Raynock is resigning from the board, and I'll just read briefly what she sent to me. It is with regret that I have to tender my resignation from the board. I have also informed Pauline, who is the chair of the Newington Democratic Town Committee, nominating committee, that I will be resigning from the board. We're putting our house up for sale this spring, and we are busy getting it ready. I have enjoyed my terms on the board and will miss working with all of you. Take care, Pam Raynock. So we now have a Republican and a Democratic. It's a race. See who can fill the position first. Open position, as well as one corporate position on the board. So that's tough when you're out there talking about the library and what goes on. Certainly we'd love to speak to anyone who's interested in coming to the meetings. And I know it's hard in this Zoom time because it's hard to meld and feel a part of the group when everything is so remote. But we'll get there. Any thoughts or considerations? And I'm not taking any other resignations, but any thoughts or considerations at this time? Okay. Next item is the Newington 150th anniversary. Any updates or notes on that? Okay, last month we had talked about the story walks and some of the other things that we were doing with that. Dave, I can see your hand up. Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I just wanted to say that Beth Mendelson has been working with the committee, and Karen had mentioned last month she put together a presentation for the Historical Society. So we're modifying that, and then we're going to be putting that on the signs that will be in Mill Pond Park. And we're working with the Friends to see if we could have somebody in front of the library for the day that they're going to be having they're be visiting some historical buildings. So we are working with them, and we're starting to pull stuff together to get it done in time.
Great. Dave, I see your hand up.
Yeah, having a connection with the 150th anniversary committee. My wife is on it, as well as others that I know. That there's some confusion. I don't want to get in the middle of this as to what the library was going to do or not do on the historical day. Lisa Masson has kind of clarified that, but maybe she needs to contact them to clarify, to make certain everybody knows what is happening and not happening on that date. Tomorrow, as part of the council meeting under new business, the 150th anniversary, one of the members will be presenting a presentation, and we'll specifically narrow in on the historic walk that is, you've just been talking about, that will take place on April 24th. And I'm happy to say I have a small role in terms of that day as well. And I hope other people in the community will join in, either as being participants in terms of walking to the different homes or of participating in one way or another to help make that a successful day out of many that we hope will happen to celebrate Newington's anniversary. So just for your information.
Great, thanks, Dave. Anyone else have anything that they want to share or ask about for the 150?
Oh, no.
Neil?
No, not the 150. No.
Okay. So next would be a new business. I don't have anything listed under new business. Dave, your hand is still up. Do you have anything? You can just shake your head. Okay, no. Very good. And then public participation. James, has anyone joined from the public?
Still nobody with us.
Okay. Then item number 15, adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Can all jump at once?
It's Maureen, so moved.
Second.
And a second. Second, thank you, Laurel. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So long, everybody.
Opposed?
Thank you.
I'll see
Hearing
you.
none.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you for your time and attention tonight, folks. I appreciate it. Have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
everybody. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Diane, hold on for a moment.
All right.